all crime fiction, as far as I'm concerned, does start with Sherlock Holmes, and I've read Sherlock Holmes a million times. Whenever I get flu or I'm feeling down, under the weather, I go to Patrick O'Brien. It's one of my things, but Sherlock Holmes is absolutely another. And that kind of mixture of Holmes's character and the sort of that cerebral thing and the London fogs and the hansom cabs. And I encountered Sherlock Holmes really early as a reader, so when I was a kid, and I just think fabulous. And I think he is one of the two great poles of crime fiction. I think Raymond Chandler is probably the other, but you've got to read. If you haven't read Sherlock Holmes, you've got to read Sherlock Holmes. It's not the same as TV. You've got to read Sherlock Holmes. I love, from the people in the list, Geoffrey Household. I'll talk about him a bit later, but I think he's a really interesting writer, actually. I mean, he's not just, he's more of a kind of thriller writer maybe than a crime thriller writer, but actually terrific and really historically interesting. And then I don't, in a way, relate to the sort of golden age of crime fiction, all the sort of Agatha Christie, country house, sort of Colonel Mustard dead in the library with a candlestick type thing. But there's a kind of joy in reading that stuff as well. The sort of, it is really artificial, but it can be kind of delightfully artificial. So yeah, people like Ronald Knox as well, I do always enjoy. I try and choose something that is different from the last book I read. So for me, the pleasure of crime, the pleasure of reading actually, is the incredible diversity of it. So no, I don't like to sort of drill down into one category in particular. I guess the noir area is something that I do particularly love, but no, I try to read widely, yeah. I think it's, more than anything else, the role of the detective, I think, is interesting. I think, in a way, that's more interesting than the crime itself. So I think what detectives are, is they are sort of investigators of society, and they stand slightly out, they stand half outside society, because they've got to be particularly special to kind of uncover the mysteries of society, but they've got to be thoroughly embedded in society as well in order to understand its dark undercurrents. So yeah, I think, for me, crime isn't particularly about murder, and there are, in fact, plenty of crime books where, yeah, somebody gets biffed on the head, but you don't really care about that person, and it doesn't seem like anyone else really cares about the person. It's like the murder is there to introduce a mystery. So I think it's the process of investigation that is compellingly interesting. And of course, that is something that is true of many novels that aren't, strictly speaking, crime novels. Okay, all of Sherlock Holmes, all of Raymond Chandler. Putting that aside, Rogue Male, I think, I just think it's a fantastic book, actually. It's written, I guess, 1939, 1940. It's right on the cusp of war, and it is about a vision of England and a vision of Germany. But it's breathtakingly modern in some ways. This very posh, rich, well-connected guy ends up living like an animal in an recognisable English countryside. And it's, I think it's politically interesting, I think it's philosophically engaging, and I think it's weirdly original. And yeah, I think it's probably coming back into fashion. I think it's a terrific book. Yeah, read crime! It's fantastic. It's what a pleasure. And read outside the box as well. So it's really easy to sort of, if you, let's say you're a Patricia Cornwell fan, to read, you've read the first 19, to read 20 and 21 and 22, and that's fine, but there's so much more to crime than just that. Yeah, enjoy it.